The future is circular and decentralized. The future is circular and decentralized, and by circular meaning incorporating transformative working processes, such as reducing, reusing, remanufacturing, refurbishing, or recycling. And by decentralized meaning building in distributed verification processes away from central authoritative locations or groups. Now, both concepts are equally important for our future. And today I'm going to do and share a digital deep dive with you into decentralization. Now, we have access to our phones every day, to the internet, to the World Wide Web, right? My phone can tell me right now where we are on a map. It can tell me what weather condition we have tomorrow. It can tell me which type of music I listen the most. And also perhaps what kind of mood I had on the 23rd September of 2017. But you see, the availability of this information almost disappears when it comes to produced goods. And that's a pity, because we humans right now, we are destroying the only thing we need to survive, our planet. And you know, it's funny, I don't even believe that it's just our planet that's getting destroyed. It's the species that we're sending to its extinction. Because nature somehow is going to repair in its way, right? And all the biggest threats that we're facing today, such as climate change or modern slavery in supply chain, they all come down to decisions. Human decisions to produce in a way and not the other. And yet, at the end of the day, we as consumers, we are making choices that harms our planet, that harms our fellow humans by choosing the wrong products. But I refuse to believe that everybody in this room, or frankly speaking, on this planet wants to buy a product that harms the world or harms our fellow humans, right? If given the choice. Because you see, having choices means there's another option. Having choices means you could decide between the either or the other. But having choices also means you need enough information to make a proper decision. And that is what nowadays just completely doesn't exist, or at least it's hard to get. But I personally believe that this is about to change, because we can use technology to solve that information problem. And speaking of decentralization connected to blockchain technology, some of you will do the connection to Bitcoin, which indeed Bitcoin was the first implementation of blockchain technology, but Bitcoin is just a cryptocurrency, and the underlying infrastructure is a blockchain technology. So broadly speaking, what is a blockchain technology? It is a distributed ledger which could provide more transparency and is unable once created. It can be central, it can be decentralized, and when it comes to decentralization, it is really unlikely that a system gets disrupted by a local failure or attack. Its implementation, faster and more efficient working processes, lower transactional costs, but most importantly, more reliable and secure data exchange within the industry. And that means that everything we give value, such as stocks, intellectual properties, or votes, or raw materials, can be stored and exchanged without powerful intermediaries. Now, it's important to acknowledge that the blockchain technology has its huge potential, but every technology goes through its ups and downs, right? To share with you a more neutral perspective, the World Economic Forum predicts that in the near future, we will have 10% of our global GDP stored on a blockchain technology. And ultimately, hopefully, leading to more justice because of its transparency. Now, I want to show you today an implementation of a blockchain technology and decentralization with my personal entrepreneurial story. This on the left is my grandmother from Angola. When she visited us here in Switzerland 12 years ago, I clearly remember she was always saying and pointing at different things. You know, my dear, this particular product comes from our land. This particular product comes from your father's land. And I was 13 years old back then, and as naive and innocent as I was, I was just replying, I don't believe you. You're lying. Because that wooden table over there, we just bought it here in Switzerland. And this device over there, we bought it out from our local store. Or this typical golden ring, we bought it from a jeweler shop. 12 years went by, and I exactly know what she meant. Because she just basically wanted to say that everything that gets produced has its origin 1,000 kilometers away and went through different intermediaries. But her overall key message actually was that humanity failed. Humanity failed to come up with a system, even with our combined world wealth, which is a quadrillion of US dollars. So even with a quadrillion of US dollars, humanity failed to come up with a fair distribution system. Because people like my grandmother would just receive a fragment of the overall value of a product. And she called it the injustice distribution. Now, a few years ago, I started to concern about climate change, and I set my future career path in the direction of sustainability. It was directly linked to my relatives in Angola, because they were impacted by the consequences of climate change. They were suffering about the poor and unfair condition when it came, for example, to commodity mining. But this was exactly the moment in life where my sister and I, and she actually is sitting exactly right over there, she being a goldsmith, we started and decided to found our own family business, our own goldsmith company. And that's how it looked back then. Actually, our first atelier in the apartment of our parents, we decided to incorporate sustainability on all stages, together with a technology. And we came across blockchain technology, enabling more transparent verification processes. And me, as an international law student, always interested and concerned about digital and climate law, I was always wondering, is there no verification model or no global standards that could highlight unethical and unsustainable practices, that could lead to more justice by avoiding conflict mining, by avoiding human rights violations? And as a WEF global shaper, always concerned about community issues and willing to tackle challenges, I was wondering if blockchain technology could influence a family that mines a bucket of gold that can be traced all the way to a product that the consumer consumes it 1,000 kilometers away. So by the means of our Goldsmith company, I want to show you how blockchain technology can drive a responsible business. And for that, you need 3 key elements. You need verification, traceability, and a third one, encryption. When it comes to verification, verifying on how something was produced. And not just by saying, trust us, we did all the right things. No, by producing evidence that something was built and produced sustainable, ethical. By the example of my jewelry ring here, we could ask and would ask ourselves, has this raw material been mined in an area where human rights protections were enough? Was it sustainable to source them? Was it sustainable to work there? And then we can add some more data on it. We can add the clarity of the gemstone. We can add how much value it has. Because all we wanted to verify is actually its origin and also its authenticity. Then secondly, when it comes to traceability, tracking a jewelry piece that we can ultimately say that the claim that we have verified at the first place really belongs to a physical product. Because without this level of traceability, all we can say is just that someone and somewhere at some point in time sourced something sustainable. But only if we give a product an identity from the start and trace it through its whole supply chain, only then can we truly say that this can be claimed sustainable or ethical. Now, to close the loop, after we've verified that something was sourced in an area where it was sustainable to do so, and after we've traced it through its whole supply chain to maintain its identity, then we need also reliable technology to store that information. And that's where blockchain technology jumps in. Blockchain technology serves and acts as a catalyst for more transparency, which ultimately could lead to more justice because we're mitigating some of the trust issues that people might have. And in my hope, also tries to change the consumer behavior of people. Because in conclusion, what we try to do with our Goldsmith company and the blockchain technology, we want to share information with consumers in a way that they can make their choice based on their values. Because think of it, nowadays you're getting bombarded with all those promotions that are based on your past purchases, right? But why can it not be based on your values? If we have reliable data, trustworthy data, and a system that makes use of it, I truly believe that we would have consumers that support those who are doing the right thing, the producers who are doing and producing a thing in an ethical and sustainable way. And ultimately also pushing the bad actors out of the business, or actually just enforce them to adjust their practices. And I truly believe we need that. We really need that. If we want to continue to live on this beautiful planet, we really need that. And if you remember, Darwin once said, it's the survival of the fittest, right? But have we ever agreed on the definition of the fittest? Because could it mean the most conscious on earth? Could it mean the most accountable or more transparent? Or the most willing to celebrate truth? What if the survival of the fittest would have meant actually the greatest contributor to a supply chain, to a value chain, where stakeholders matters as much as shareholders? My dear colleagues, my whole message is actually that it's not just politics and big corporations out there who are responsible. It's you, it's us, it's our decisions. Your decision to prevent climate change, your decision to prevent modern slavery in supply chains. So the next time you buy something, the next time you consume something, do a thing. Think of it critically. Think of its origin. Think of its history. And think also that blockchain is here in the near future to help you make that decision. If we continue to live like that, I truly believe that my grandmother would have been proud of us. Thank you.